Okay, so week number 4 after the great gym collapse. That's just how I conceptualize my time now. Before gym collapse, after gym collapse. Works for me. Probably doesn't make any sense to you, but that's how I remember things in my head. This was kind of a really weird and stressful week. I'd actually been on a trip with my church the entire weekend before, so that definitely cut into some of the time I had to plan and prepare for a lot of stuff. I did get a fair amount of work done over that break. When I was in the car, I was able to do all my grading I needed to from back in the nationalism unit. Anyway, so that was good. I learned a little bit, had a little practice with multitasking, which is something I think I'd be doing a lot as a teacher. Stuff like, you have so many things you need to do in your life, inside school and outside, and I think grading a lot of times is one of those things that kind of gets multitasked with other activities, and maybe that's not the best, but I think sometimes you have to do what you have to do to work everything in, because you have many hats to wear, oftentimes. I know I have this semester. So, things going on this week. Again, I talked in the previous posts about how my activity went with having groups share what they found about one detail with the rest of the class. The reason why I kind of like that is because it makes it so it's not just a class filling out a chart or a worksheet, or in this case, I kind of adapted the framing routine to this. Instead of that, it's a bit more interactive, also a bit more daunting for the students. Also, I think it just generally saves time. So, this time, I found it didn't go very good when we obelized things, so instead I thought, okay, I'll try to use a smartboard. I basically created a PowerPoint slide of an empty copy of the frame/chart that I gave the students. I said, okay, you're doing this, you're doing this, you're doing this. Whenever you're done with this, come write what you found on the smartboard. And I'd do that, and I'd circle around as each group came up with their information, and then they come up with a smartboard, and then I'd usually kind of keep an eye on the smartboard, make sure they didn't write anything incorrect, and if they did, I could just take the eraser and erase it. Really only had one or two times when I actually had to say, okay, go back, this isn't right, you need to find something else. For the most part, they all got pretty well. I didn't have any issues with students getting the wrong information. Maybe I was a bit more specific this time than last time about what I wanted them to find, so I was getting the right information this time. Less information that wasn't, with the Italian thing, it wasn't necessarily wrong, it's just not what's really important. And this time, I guess I worded so that they were really focusing on what we needed to know. And I was able to get that, and I thought it worked very well. I think when you have stuff on the board to be written down, it's a lot easier for students to copy, and it's also a lot more aware of them of, okay, I have this chart, people are writing on this part of the chart, so I should probably put that in my chart. So it was much more successful. The only big issue I had with doing it that way was that a couple of times different groups come up with the same time, and they'd each pick up a pen, and Smartboard doesn't like that very much, so I had to explain to them, wait, do it one at a time. And as I've done this activity, I think I did it maybe one more time since then, or maybe it's just with different classes. Another thing I've adapted to is saying, it's kind of working out so that, okay, the faster group puts it up first, and then they wait for the other groups to get their information in, and so that it doesn't necessarily work out so that all the groups are writing at the same time. That's just something you just need to be aware of and control for anyone who plans on kind of doing something like that. I may put up something on Scholar for anyone who's in my cohort who's interested, who might want to do that activity, kind of showing kind of my materials for that. So basically, yeah, they put it all up there. Then after they put it all up there, I talk about each of them as a class. While the students are still writing the information down, I talk about this information for each of them. Maybe have the groups chime in a little bit more about what they found. Maybe have them elaborate on something a bit more. Then for this one, I didn't do this so much for the Italian one. I definitely did for this one, though. I did the so what at the bottom. I don't know that I actually had the students fill in anything for so what, but we definitely talked about, okay, what's the main idea here, looking across these different things. And it went pretty well, the whole activity. I was generally very pleased with it. So I haven't really talked about yet about kind of my classroom management and how that was going. It's kind of hit or miss. What's really interesting, I'm probably getting to talk about this because I just had so many other things to talk about in my other posts. Going from back when we were at the high school to now, a lot of the classroom dynamics have changed a lot, especially with one class in particular. It's my first class in the afternoon now on B days. Before, it had been in the morning. I think in the morning, the class seemed a lot different because basically most of the kids were still half asleep. Some of them literally were asleep. Whereas now it's the afternoon and they aren't sleeping as much, so they're a lot more active. It's a very talkative class. It's very difficult to get things done. They just talk a lot. A lot of them just aren't very interested in doing schoolwork. It's just very difficult. It's something where you have to work a lot to keep them on task, and that class has been very stressful. I can't say I've really come up with a solution for it. I just kind of just keep on going, and I'll have a class that I didn't think of very well, but my cooperating teacher says no. I mean, that's fine. So I just try to keep them on task as best I can. Try to, whenever I can, use an opportunity to turn one of their offhand comments into something connecting back to the material. I mean, it's a stressful class. It's kind of fun sometimes, so some of the stuff that they kind of come up with comes out of their mouths. Then my other class meets at the end of the day now, and meet at the end of the day last time as well. Before, they were a lot more active. Now they're not as talkative. I think at that point it's almost 7 at night and they're almost kind of tired and worn out, so that class has been a little more manageable. We put the two college classes in singing charts for different reasons. I'm not going to get into specifics here, but we felt the need to do that. We've yet to do that with honors. Honors is generally, my cooperating teacher sees them as being a bit more easy to manage, and generally they are. There are a lot of days where I have two honors classes. One of them is a lot more talkative and off topic, and they can be as bad as some of the college classes some days, but you do generally have that dichotomy between the honors kids and the college kids. And the honors are generally more well behaved, but again, it's just generally, not always. It varies. And all in all, I feel like there's definitely a difference you can tell when my cooperating teacher leads the room. In some of the classes, the kind of respect level definitely goes down a notch, especially in that B-Day class, that one in particular. Blocks have definitely made things interesting too. The kids are going from 45 minutes to 75 minutes. You can definitely tell a difference, especially when I first started, and they'd be okay for that first 45, but as class draws on, gets later and later, they get less or less interested and less motivated. They just kind of gradually tune out. It's definitely gotten better as time has gone on. I've also adapted my teaching style to where very rarely do I have a day where we're doing just one thing. It's usually 2 or 3 things, or maybe even 4, maybe even 5, over a course of the day that we're doing, so I kind of have them going from different thing to different thing, and kind of trying to mix it up, trying to intersplice some mini lectures with some different group activities and discussing those group activities, so trying to keep it varied up so they don't get too bored. 75 minutes is too long to just do one thing the whole time. I've yet to try it, and I'm not going to try it because I can just kind of tell that isn't going to work. There are some teachers at the school who do that, who will lecture the whole time. I guess they say it works for them. Maybe it does. I don't think it would work for me.